In the previous session, we have seen how to create a task definition. As part of it, our requirement is we want to spin up a single container by using that particular task definition. For example, we have created a task definition. In the task definition, our requirement is we want to create a single container with Nginx image, which will be listening on 80 port number. This is our basic requirement. By using this task definition, we want to create a standalone task. There are two approaches for us. Either we can launch a service or we can create a standalone task. For this particular practical session, as of now, I want to create a standalone task. Let me name it as standalone task. When you are trying to create a standalone task, we can specify how many tasks we want to create. And every task is individual. They are not dependent on each other or they are not controlled by any other component. That's the reason I have mentioned as standalone task. I'll just specify in this way so that we can understand. This is one task and this is another task and this is the third one. I will specify this one as task 1 and task 2 and task 3. While you are launching a task, we will specify how many identical tasks you want to create. But everyone is individual. Identical in the sense what? From this particular task definition, you are trying to say how many individual tasks you want to create. What is meant by standalone task? Which means if the task has been deleted due to some failure or maybe you have manually deleted it, again the task will not get replaced because it is not controlled by any other component in ECS cluster. That is the meaning of standalone task. Let us see how it works in a practical session. Select the cluster what we have created and here we have to select the tab called task. Select run new task. In this we have to specify certain parameters. First one is compute configuration. We have different types of capacity options right now. Forget. In the forget we have on demand, spot, and then we have EC2. AWS anywhere we have not enabled. That's the reason the third option is not available. We have only two options. One is forget and one is EC2. If you want to select both of them to spread your task across this particular different capacity options, then we have to go for capacity provider strategy and then you have to go for advanced. Here you can select your different capacity providers. No, I don't want to do like that. I want to launch all my tasks, though they are standalone, on the same capacity. Then you have to go for launch type. And then here we have to specify either you want to use forget or EC2 or external. In this scenario, I will be using EC2 as a launch type. With this, we have done with the compute configuration. Next one, deployment configuration. How you want to spin up your application? Do you want to create a service or do you want to create a standalone task? Since our topic is about standalone task creation, I'll be using this default option. And then by using which task definition you want to create it, that we have to specify from here. Select the Nginx web server task definition, which will select by default a revision of 1 because we have done only one change while creating this particular task definition. If you have done any other changes after that, for every change that you do, it will show you the revision number and that will select it by default. For now, we have only one revision. After that, how many desired tasks you want to launch. Specify the number of tasks to launch. And every task is a standalone. For example, I want to specify 3. I'm not sure right now, will it launch all the 3 tasks in the same compute or it will try to spread across the computes of EC2. That will be decided by your controller of ECS, nothing but scheduler. And then I have to specify the task group name. I will give here Nginx as a name and then demo. Nginx demo right now. Coming back to the network. Here this is our network where we want to use to spin up our task. But I don't want to use public subnets since I don't want to allocate any public IP address to the task. That's the reason why deselect this particular public subnets from the list. Right now we have chosen only private subnets. Do you want to create a new security group or do you want to use an existing one? Choice is ours. If you don't have any existing security group for this particular task, we can create a new one right now by specifying some name. I will give here Nginx Standalone webserver. Let me give a short description for this security group. Allow traffic on 80 port for Nginx webserver. Then what will be the protocol type? It is HTTP. And then default is 80. I want to allow the traffic from within the VPC network. Option, the source will be custom and it is 10.100.0.0/16 based on the VPC CIDR what I've specified. After that, I don't want to select any other option because we have not discussed about it. We have to talk about them one by one in the upcoming sessions. For now, I want to discuss how to spin up a standalone task with the task definition what we have created. After selecting these options, we can say create. Now it will start creating the individual task. You can see the IDs of each and every task that it has created on the cluster called dev cluster demo of your account under Ohio region. Let me close this particular message. If you scroll down here, right now it is in the provisioning status, which means it is creating in the backend. It is trying to pull the image, then it is trying to launch a container. After that activity was done, it will show you the status as running if everything goes fine. If there is a failure, it will show you the failed status as well. Your desired status is running. The actual status is right now provisioning. Finally, once a task is successful, you have to see the status as running. Let me refresh to pull the latest status. And we can see they have been provisioned successfully. If you want to see the info of this particular task, select it. And here we can see the information like private IP address, MAC address, the subnet it has used, ENI of the private IP address, the task definition and its revision, launch type what we have used, and in which instance it is running right now. We can see the whole information from this particular task. And you can see the status, desired and latest. But the only thing is we cannot access this application. Why? Because it is running on a private network. If you want to access this application right now, since we don't have a public IP address, we cannot do it from outside of the VPC network from internet. Within the VPC we can access. How? You can log into any one of the compute and we can try to access that IP on 80 port number, or else we can launch a jump server, or you can say a testing server in that VPC network, and from that particular instance you can run a curl command if it is a Linux operating system, and then if you are getting a response, then it is able to communicate. That's a testing what we can do as of now, since we have not talked about any load balancer integration. But in this scenario we have seen how to launch our standalone task. Now, why I'm saying it is a standalone? Let us say a practical session, which means if I select this particular task and if I say stop the selected one, in the ECS cluster point of view, it is nothing but delete. It is not like Docker container stop. It is like Docker container rm command. It is going to delete the task. Here it is called as stop. Let me stop the task right now. Once the activity was performed, you can see the task has been deleted. Again, it will not get provisioned because it is a standalone. What does it mean? If somehow it got deleted, again we cannot spin up it. That is called as standalone. You can see right now, if you want to see only the stopped one, you can select that. And we can see here which has been stopped 3 minutes ago. And if you want to see all the statuses, you can see any desired state. Running and stop. Both of them you can see. Even failed one as well. This is the information what we have. If you want to delete all the tasks, every task is individual. And if you want to delete all of them at a time, we can select from this drop down list, stop all. And say stop. But you have to type the sentence here, stop all tasks. Now it is going to stop all the tasks what we have. And once all the tasks have been deprovisioned and stopped, you cannot spin up them again. It doesn't mean that if you select them, you cannot start. That's the intention. Since it is not controlled by any other component on ECS cluster, those are called as standalone tasks. In what conditions we have to use it? If you want to run any batch operations, like if you want to take a backup instantly, if you want to restore the backup, in those conditions we have to go for standalone tasks. If you want to deploy a proper application, then it is better we go with the services. That we'll discuss in the upcoming sessions. For now, we have seen the basic components of how to create a standalone task from the task definition what we have created. I hope this will give you some basic understanding of it. That's all for this particular session. Thank you.